I'm Paul Hindle, editor at FinTech Futures. We are here at Finovate in London, and I'm joined by Sanghamitra Karra. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. It's great to see some sun for a change, I think.
Absolutely.
So, would you like to quickly introduce yourself and your role at Morgan Stanley?
Yeah, I'm Sanghamitra Karra. I'm a managing director at Morgan Stanley, and I run the Multicultural Innovation Lab for the region, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. This is an in-house accelerator program that we have focused on women and ethnic minority founders.
Excellent. So, you've just finished speaking on a panel covering financial inclusion as well. So can you tell us what the key takeaways from that were for you?
I think for me it was quite interesting, the panel itself. We had companies which are sort of quite early stage, then somebody like Monzo who was sort of coming up, and then we had Morgan Stanley, so you sort of had a full spectrum of people, and it was quite interesting to see the different viewpoints on sort of financial inclusion. For me, the two big takeaways there were what can you do as an individual, as a customer, as a client, as an employee and an employer every day to sort of think about financial inclusion. And also the importance of trust and community building, and which is sort of a key into which underpins sort of pretty much all of financial inclusion, and making sure that people who are underbanked are coming to the forefront, or you're making sure that capital and access to capital and opportunities are available for the broadest part of the society.
And do you think there needs to be more collaboration between banks and fintech in this space to really drive this forward?
Yeah, I think for me it's about learning, right? So any institution that grows has to learn, and I think both the fintechs and the banks have a lot to learn from each other. We were actually discussing this, and I think of this as sort of the two pillars. You have agility on one side and you have stability on the other side, and you need both of them to sort of actually progress, and that's what's sort of really interesting. So if you have fintech sort of moving in a way to bring more customers that are today unbanked into the ecosystem, you can actually leverage the expertise of banks and others to think about the controls, the processes, the systems that you need to keep in place so that you make that go further and maintain for the long run.
And obviously communication is quite key when it comes to financial inclusion. Now, do you think what more can banks be doing when it comes to communicating to?
I think for me, it's about communicating in simple terms, and it's not necessarily sort of our expertise, is it? So actually being able to communicate in simple terms, communicating in terms of, when you think about the communication, make sure you're expressing the why as much as sort of the what. In some of the communication. And then lastly, this need for financial literacy, which I think is a big deal, and actually bringing that to the forefront, and making sure that we are developing an ecosystem of financially literate people to understand sort of the communication that's actually going through.
Sure. And what new technology developments then do you think are helping in this area?
So, some of the technology developments that I've been following quite closely are what I think about as the decentralized financial systems, right? So if you think about cryptocurrencies is to fiat money, there is sort of centralized financial systems to decentralized financial systems, everything from peer-to-peer lending to payment systems that are focused on certain areas. And these are very important parts of the ecosystem that are new and that are developing, and they are actually pushing the boundaries of what it means to be included in a financial sort of system. Would there be sort of issues in the future on thinking about KYCs and thinking about, how do you bank it? Probably yes, but they are actually sort of experimenting in that space. And so that space itself is something that I'm watching closely on in how these, how this system, this decentralized financial system is actually developing.
Excellent. And I need to set on quite nicely then. So what is Morgan Stanley doing it, I guess, specifically in terms of this?
Yeah, so not specifically in terms of sort of the decentralized one, because we're we're a GSIP, and I think for Morgan Stanley, when we think about financial inclusion, there's sort of a range of different components that come through with it. But I would say that the core of it comes back to one of our values about thinking about D&I, doing the right thing, and making sure that it comes through. So the program that I run, which is about the Multicultural Innovation Lab, which is investing in women or underrepresented founders in the broadest sense, is one of them. We have a program at the earliest stages. So at the school levels, we run what is called as a Step In, Step Up program, where it's about sort of bringing more women to sort of want to think about finance as a career. You then go up one stage higher up as a college student, sort of the opportunities that are available in that space, or even at an experienced as an experienced professional. We run a program called the Morgan Stanley Experienced Professional Program, where you may have an expertise in some of the other areas, and it's quite helpful to bring that expertise into the financial system. So it's sort of all the different components of how do we think about it as an employer, and how do you think about it as someone who is providing financial services to the ecosystem.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your insights then quickly, and I'll let you get back to the rest of the event.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.